Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Rachel Klein and I will be your presenter for the next 20 minutes. Today we are actually going to be talking about setting the criteria or being able to pull the people that you want when you're printing labels. We're going to talk about that for about 20 minutes. We're going to go over the different tabs and options that you have for who is going to get a label. I have Kellyanne with me today. She will be here answering questions. So if you do find that you come across a question as we're going over the topic, feel free to open up the questions section on your GoToWebinar toolbar. Type your question in and Kellyanne will do her best to get all those answered. I do ask that you keep your questions on topic. There's over 100 people registered for today, so there's a lot of people that are going to be here, and there's just 2 of us, but we will do our best to get your questions answered. But if you have a question that's kind of more specific to your data, or a question that doesn't have to do with the topic of printing labels or generating the criteria for labels, please just call us. We're going to be able to get you helped easier that way, or you can send us an email to support@churchwindows.com. I do want to pull up our website real quick. There's really a lot of good information out here. It's just churchwindows.com. If you haven't been out to our website, I definitely recommend coming out here and checking it out. There's really some good information on different questions you might have. There's good information on signing up for webinars, and all of our webinars are recorded and then edited or cleaned up a little bit and then also put out on our website. So you can go back and watch a previously recorded webinar if you need to do that. So today's topic actually comes from one of our workbooks. It's the M203 workbook, which you can actually find up here under Beginning Training Workbooks. They're all listed out here. They're $12 if you want to download it. It's $22 to get a pre-printed binder-ready book that we send to you. But all the topics are listed down here and giving an overview of what it covers. So today, like I said, we're going over 203, and it's just pages 2 through 5. So if you actually want to have a hard copy of this, you can order this book out here on the website, and you'll have everything written down. But like I said, it is recorded. If you're content just watching the video, you can rewatch this out on our website at any time. Alright, so today we're going to be working in version 20.17.0. Not everyone has received this version yet. We are sending it out in small groups. So if you're on something older than this, it's really going to look the same. But if you find you do want to get up to 20, it'll be coming out to you soon. But keep in mind that there is a big change in the membership module. If you do want to get up to 20, just make sure you're kind of prepared for that by heading out to our website, and we actually have a video on what to expect in version 20 that you can watch just to prepare yourself if you want to. Alright, so I went ahead and clicked on membership, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit labels here, and it's going to take us to step 1 of our printing labels screen. So basically what I want to do in our webinar is go through each tab, which is listed up here at the top, and kind of direct you on how to use each one of these tabs to fit your data and how you've set up Church Windows to pull out the specific people that you need to be able to get labels for. Okay? So when you print labels, you have a step 1, which is what you see now, and then you also have a step 2 that appears once you come down here and hit the next button. Keep in mind, step 1, the one we're on, is going to be the who. This is who do you need labels for. This has nothing to do with what's going to print on the label. For example, whether you see the person's first and last name, whether you see Mr. and Mrs. Bob Smith, their mailing code, or their mailing label, excuse me. This has just to do with who is actually going to get a label when you go to print them on the next screen, okay? So let's start here on the People tab. The first field up here in the top left, this is probably going to be used the most when you're printing labels or running reports of any kind for that matter. If you hit the down arrow, it's going to show you all the membership fields that you have the option to query on. Okay, so just to scan through here and read you a couple, you can pull people that have a baptism date in a particular time frame. You can pull people that have a birth date in a particular time frame. You can look at people who are in a certain church school. So whatever fields that you've set up or customized within your church windows, you really have the ability to query on in here in labels. You can look at people, you can just look at females if you want to. You can look at people that came to membership by a transfer from another denomination, what have you. The possibilities are really endless in here. But we're actually going to go with the example that's from the workbook that I'm following. And they, in the example, they're wanting to print labels for a newsletter. So I'm actually going to scroll down to the M's and I'm going to choose mailing code. This is an easy way to pull people who specifically want a newsletter. So of mailing code, I'm going to check all mailings, out-of-towners, and newsletter only. So only the people that have this mailing code on their family record of either all mailings, out-of-towners, or newsletter only are going to be pulled to print labels for. Okay? So once you check the ones that you want, you're going to then come down here and hit this big green plus sign, this Add Selection button. By clicking that, it's then going to input the criteria down in the lower half of the screen. Okay. Now you also have an and an or button. You can use these two buttons to then add criteria down here. So say you want people who have a mailing code of one of the following and they live in the state of Ohio, for example. You could pair the and just pull people who have this mailing code but only live in the state of Ohio. You could also use the or. Or is good if you have, I want one or the other. Say I want people that have a mailing code of one of the following, or they live in Ohio. So they could live in Ohio but not meet the mailing code criteria. Okay, so just keep in mind when to use and when to use or. You don't have to use them. If this is the only piece of criteria that you need, then that's all you put in. But this is just giving you more options to really customize your criteria and get exactly the people that you need. All right, let's look over here under giver number. You also have the ability to pull people who only have a number or people who don't have a number. You can also pull people who just have a giver number range from, say, 1 to 100 if you wanted to. So if you only needed to generate labels for people who have a giver number in the 100s, you could simply type in that range and it would only pull those people to print them a label on the next screen. Categories. Version 20 now has categories, so if this looks new to you, that just means you're not on 20 yet. But same thing, members and visitors. You can tell it you just want members, or you can tell it you just want visitors just by a simple click here. Down here at the bottom, we also have a little include box. This allows you to pull your membership groups. So you say you want labels for your different Bible studies that you've set up, or your women's groups or your men's groups. You can easily check this group box if you want to include those groups to print. Donations, individuals, and donations groups. These are individuals or groups that were only entered into the donations side of Church Windows. If you don't use donations, you don't need to worry about this. But if you ever want to print labels and pull in those people that were entered in on the donation side, you would simply just check these boxes. All right, let's see. That covers everything I wanted to show you on this People tab. Now we're going to go to the Giving/Pledging tab up here at the top. Again, if you don't use donations, this isn't going to apply to you. It's just another option for you to be able to pull the specific people that you need. You can also look at types of givers and types of pledgers. So say within a criteria, you only need to pull people that have giving. You have the option to choose only those who gave. You also have the option to pull people who gave, say, $1,000 or more. You could simply put in $1,000 here and check the no upper limit box. Or you can uncheck this field and then you can put in a range. Say I only want to pull the people that gave $0 to $50. You can easily do that by putting in a range here. Then you can come down here and just pull people that did not give. If that's ever something you need, you have the option here to do that. Down at the bottom under Pledging Include, it's going to be set up very similar to the Giving Include information up at the top. Those who pledged in a particular range, or those who did not pledge. Now keep in mind, if you do choose something that involves pledging, you then have some more options. So you can filter in or out people that have a particular frequency. You can also just print labels for people who haven't met their pledge yet. If you say it's getting close to the end of the year and you want to send out a reminder, you can do that easily right here on this pledging section. Okay. Now you don't have to use this tab. This is only used if you have labels you need to make for people that involve giving or pledging information. If you don't have anything to do with that, you just skip right over this tab. Now let's go to the Accounts tab. So the Accounts tab is actually going to allow you to pull people that gave or pledged to a particular giving account or particular giving accounts. All you would need to do is just click to highlight the account that you want selected and move it over to the right. You can move over multiple accounts as well, or leaving them all on the left, it's going to look at all of your giving accounts. If you are a pledging church, you can also hit the down arrow here and pick a campaign. Say you just want to generate labels for people who pledged to the Save the Dogs campaign. By selecting Save the Dogs, it will then just look at people that pledged to that account or gave to that account, depending upon what you put on this tab. Alright, then I want to take you to the Sort tab. This Sort tab is very important. You always want to make sure you double check the Sort tab before you go down and hit your next button. This is the order that your labels are going to be printed out in. So if you want your labels in zip code order, which a lot of people do, you have the option by scrolling down to the bottom and choosing zip code. You also can do alphabetical if you just want strictly alphabetical order. And there's a couple other name options here you can choose from. But then there's a lot of other things here too. Say you want to print by age. You need labels and you want them in age order. You can do that. Birth date, baptism date, city or city and state. Lots of different options here for how you would like to have your labels print out in. I'm going to go ahead and choose just strictly alphabetical. You also have a sort field 2 and a sort field 3. These are going to be subsorts. So for example, in sort field 1, if you did put zip code here, then down here in sort field 2, you could do alphabetical. So it would first group everyone together by zip code, then within each zip code, it would then give you an alphabetical sort. If that's something that you needed, you have the options to build the sort to whatever you want. Okay, so let me start back over on the People tab and let's just review what we've done. So for the example in the workbook, we want people that have a mailing code of all mailings, out-of-towner, and newsletter only. I do want members and visitors included, so I'm going to leave those both checked. I'm going to leave out inactive people. I don't want anyone I've terminated or marked inactive to be included. And I'm going to leave out membership groups, donations, individuals, and groups as well. So I'm going to leave those all unchecked. I'm not worried about giving and pledging, so I'm going to make sure nothing is selected on here. I don't need anything involving accounts, so I'm going to leave all accounts selected, just skip right over this tab. And then on my Sort tab, I want my labels in alphabetical order. So I now have everything I want picked. Now let's say my church sends out a newsletter mailing every month. So I want to save this mailing code criteria. Down here at the bottom, let me grab my highlighter. This is a save selection drop box. You can come in here and save as many different criterias that you might have. So for example, this mailing code one, I use it all the time. I want to save it because I don't want to have to come in here and put in my criteria, set my categories, set my sort order. I don't want to have to worry about that every time. So to save this, I'm going to come down to the bottom and hit this little floppy disk icon. This then pulls up a screen where I title what I want this saved selection of criteria to be called. I'm going to call it Newsletter Labels. I'm going to say OK. And now the program knows, let me get rid of my highlighter so you can see. Now my program knows that whenever this newsletter label selection is picked, it's going to automatically fill in all of my criteria for me. Okay, so let me close out and let me go back into labels. And then if I hit the down arrow here, it's going to show me all of my saved selections. I simply just pick the one that I want. And you see all of my information pops back in. And it also has my sort order picked for me as well. So it's a time saver if you're running a lot of the same criteria. Just saves you the steps of having to re-enter it each time. It's also good too if you have a complex criteria. Say you have multiple lines down here, lots of ands and ors. You can save that so you don't have to mess with putting it back in the next time you come in. Okay, so once it's saved, you just select it, hit the next button, and then it's going to take you to step 2. And then step 2, of course, is where you set your label layout. So you pick the size of labels that you're using, and then you also pick your one label per. So let me go ahead and hit print just so you can see a print preview. Still working. Give it a minute here. Come on, preview. Let's see if it opened on my other screen. It did not. We'll give it a minute. I think it might be just working a little slow. Let me go take a peek over here at any questions while we're waiting on that preview to pop up here. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in. That was all I was going to show you for today's webinar. It was just pages 2 through 5. It was pretty basic information, but if you do have a question, go ahead and type it in. I'll see if I can get you an answer here. All right, someone's asking, what if someone asks me for labels for certain people, but they are not in a group or there isn't a common category for them to pull from the people screen? Can I go to the grid, click their names, and use that to create labels? You can definitely use the grid to pull up labels if you want to. You can also come down here on this lower half of the screen, and you can click uncheck print for all. And by checking uncheck print for all, then you can simply go in and check the particular ones that you actually do in fact need a label for. All right, let's see here. Oh, looks like Kellyanne got Elizabeth answer. Someone else is asking about version 20. Version 20 has not been released entirely yet. So if you haven't received version 20 yet, it's coming. It's on its way. With as busy as we are here in January, the thought was to hold on to it a little bit because it is different. Membership's going to be different, and we didn't want to release it and then have something totally new and then have people calling but having to wait for our help because version 20 is so busy for us. So if you haven't received 20 yet, you will get it soon. Someone's asking, can we go over how to get to the saved selections that we have saved? Sure. I don't know why my preview is being so pokey here. Let me see if I can force it to close. Okay. All right, so if you've saved a selection, Deborah's asking how to pull that up again. If you've saved a selection, go into Labels. Right down here at the bottom where it says Save Selection, simply hit the down arrow, and then you can select those. If you have a bunch of them, they'll all be listed here. I just happen to have the one. Click Newsletter Labels, and then it's automatically going to fill in your criteria that you saved. Pamela's asking, can I make an entire sheet of labels for 1 or 2 individuals? Pamela, we could probably help you figure out how to do that. Call us on that, though. I'm not going to have time to show you that today. Call us if you need help with that, and I think we can figure it out. Honestly, the program is not designed to do labels for just 1 or 2 people of an entire sheet. It would probably be easier to do it in Word. But if it's something you're definitely wanting to try to figure out in Church Windows, give me a call, and I think I can probably figure it out for you. I haven't done it in a while. I'd have to look at it. Someone's asking, can you show how to save again? Sure. Let me clear this out here. If you need to save a criteria, you have to put in your criteria first. So everything that you want first. So let me go down and just we'll do, say, gender. Just as a example. So we'll choose gender. Say we just want our guys, so we're going to check male. I'm going to hit plus selection. That criteria pops down below. I'm going to come over to the right and set anything else I want. Say I just want males that are members. I had to think about that. So uncheck visitors and then come up to your sort tab, set your sort order. Let's say I want them sorted by, I don't know, age. But once you get your criteria in here, Sarah, you just go down to the bottom, you hit your little floppy disk, and then you enter in what you want it called. So we can call it member males. And then hit OK. And now it'll be saved down here in the Dropbox for you. All right. Anybody else has any more questions about labels? I'm happy to answer them. We are at the 22-minute mark according to my timer. So if you need to sign out, go ahead, feel free to leave. That's fine. I hope you were able to learn something new today that will help make your job a little bit easier in the future. But if you still have a question, feel free to type it in. I will try to get it answered. Someone's asking about the book. In the beginning, I mentioned it was membership 203. So M203 is the actual book. And today I just covered pages 2 through 5. So if you're interested in purchasing this book, you can do that out at churchwindows.com. And you can just get the membership book if you want it, pages 2 through 5. It's out on the website, but this will be recorded, so you can find it on our website in the future if you want to re-listen to this. Oh, Victoria, I see your question. Someone's asking about the parentheses. The parentheses is not something that you would use too terribly often, but the parentheses can be helpful if you have an and that you also need an or tucked in there as well. You don't really use the parentheses too often anymore because our new program actually allows you to check more than one option. Let me see what Kellyanne answered you. Yeah, so Kellyanne mentioned the parentheses just basically mean what I'm putting within these parentheses is also an and with another piece of criteria. So Victoria, if you have a question about how to build a criteria, please call us and we can help you. The parentheses honestly aren't used too much anymore because there's so much flexibility up here with the check boxes. But if you're having trouble building a criteria, please call us. We can definitely talk through it with you. Good. Lots of positive feedback. I'm glad you guys learned something new. That's great. I'm going to go ahead and close up the webinar. If you have any questions or you didn't get a sufficient answer or you're thinking of something else after we're closed, feel free to call us or shoot us an email to support@churchwindows.com and we can definitely get you an answer that way. Oh, happy Valentine's Day. I keep forgetting. Happy Valentine's Day to you guys too. All right, Karen, I do see you said you had a question. I will give you just a second to get it typed and I'll get you an answer. Karen, you said, can I print newsletter labels if they are on the all mailings? Yeah, if I'm understanding you correctly, Karen, if you look at my screen now, I have the different criterias pulled up. Yeah, so for people who want everything, so this is more of a criteria question. So people who want everything by, they want to have every single piece of information that you mail out from the church, then you would give them a mailing code of all mailings. So when you go to print your newsletter, you definitely want to check these people because these people want the newsletter and they want everything else you sent too. Newsletter only is, you would only assign people that code if the only thing they want sent out from the church is the newsletter. So if you give someone an all mailing code, that means they want the newsletter and everything else that you send. So if you are in fact doing a newsletter mailing, then you want to make sure you check the all mailings people and the newsletter only people. All right, Karen, if that doesn't answer your question, call me. I do have to go ahead and close the webinar now. I've gone 8 minutes over. Okay, good. I'm glad that makes sense then. All right, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Happy Valentine's Day. And like I said, I hope you learned something new that'll help make your job a little bit easier. Have a great day.